I caught my girlfriend cheating outside a bar last night. I didn't yell or cause a scene. I just took a photo, drove home, and sent it to her parents with the caption, "Thought you should see what your daughter is up to." Her name is Aaliyah. For 3 years, she was my entire world. We built a life in the house I owned, a place I'd worked double shifts for years to afford. The first 2 years were good, or at least I thought they were. But this last year, something changed. Aaliyah got a new job at a high-end consulting firm, and suddenly the life we had wasn't good enough. My friends were too loud, my clothes weren't designer, my job as a lead mechanic at a dealership wasn't impressive. She started talking about image, about networking, about the kind of life she deserved. I paid for the nice dinners, the weekend trips, the expensive gifts she wanted, telling myself it was a phase. I was a fool for that. I see it now. Last night was supposed to be a quiet night in. She was supposed to be at a mandatory late-night work dinner. Around 10 p.m., I got a call from my cousin, asking for a jump because his battery died. His car was at a bar just on the other side of town. No problem. I grabbed my keys and headed out. After I got his car started, we were standing in the parking lot talking when I saw her. There was no mistaking it. She was standing under the neon sign of the bar, the one she'd told me was a boring corporate hangout. She wasn't with her coworkers. She was wrapped around a tall guy in a suit I'd never seen before, laughing that high-pitched laugh she used when she was trying to impress someone. Then she stood on her toes and kissed him. It wasn't a friendly peck on the cheek. It was a long, deep kiss, the kind that leaves no room for doubt. Something inside me went cold and still. The rage was there, a hot coil in my gut, but on the surface there was just clarity. My cousin started to say something, probably asking if I was okay, but I just held up a hand to silence him. I pulled out my phone. My hands were perfectly steady. I zoomed in, making sure the bar's sign was visible in the background, making sure their faces were clear. I took one picture. Just one. Then I got in my truck and drove home. I sat on my couch in the dark, staring at the photo on my phone. Her, him, the kiss. The whole story in a single frame. I thought about what to do. I could confront her when she got home, have a screaming match that would end with her crying and me probably giving in, or I could end it. Cleanly. Decisively. I thought about her parents, Theophilus and Martha. They were pillars of their church community, a deacon and a lead choir member. They were obsessed with appearances, with their family's perfect reputation. They adored me because I was stable, because I owned my own home, because I was the good, responsible man their daughter needed. They had no idea who their daughter really was when they weren't looking. It was time they found out. I opened a new text message and attached the photo. I sent it to both of them, in a group chat. The caption was simple: "Thought you should see what your daughter is up to." I hit send. Then I put my phone on silent and went to bed. The next morning, my phone had dozens of notifications, missed calls from Aaliyah, from her parents, from her friends, angry texts, pleading texts. I ignored them all. I knew she was a volcano of drama, and sending that picture had lit the fuse. I had a feeling she wouldn't just pack her bags and leave. She'd want a confrontation. She'd want to make a scene. So I prepared for it. My house has a security camera over the front door, but I wanted something better, something undeniable. I took my old phone, plugged it into a power bank, and set it up on the windowsill of my living room, pointing directly at my driveway where my car was parked. It was a classic 1970s Chevelle, a car I had spent 5 years restoring with my own 2 hands. It was my pride and joy. I hit record. Then I went and made myself some coffee and waited. I didn't have to wait long. Around 11 a.m., her car screeched to a halt at the curb. She didn't get out alone. Her best friend, Rosa, was with her. Aaliyah got out of the passenger side, and she was holding a metal baseball bat. My baseball bat, from the garage. She was just screaming before she even set foot on the lawn. Pure rage. "James, get out here, you coward. You think you can ruin my life? You think you can humiliate me in front of my parents?" I just watched from the window, my old phone recording every second. Rosa was egging her on, yelling about how I was a pathetic snake for what I did. Aaliyah marched right up to my Chevelle. She didn't hesitate. She swung the bat with all her might right into the driver's side window. The sound of the glass shattering was unbelievably loud. She wasn't done. She brought the bat down again and again. On the hood, leaving a massive dent. On the windshield, cracking it into a spiderweb. On the side panels, scraping deep gouges into the custom paint job I had spent months perfecting. She just went crazy, shrieking and cursing as she destroyed the one thing she knew I loved. Rosa was filming the whole thing on her phone, probably for some kind of social media victory lap. When she was finally out of breath, she threw the bat on the lawn and stormed up to my front door, pounding on it with her fists. "You see what happens when you mess with me, James? You see?" That's when I opened the door. I wasn't holding a weapon. I was holding my phone with the 911 operator on the line, the speaker on so she could hear the calm voice on the other end. Her face went pale. The rage in her eyes was replaced by pure panic. Rosa immediately stopped filming. "I have a young woman here who has just committed felony vandalism on my property," I said into the phone. "She used a baseball bat to destroy my vehicle. Yes, I have it all on video. I can see the police car turning onto my street now." The sound of sirens got louder. Alea's whole body started to shake. The tough act vanished. She just looked like a scared kid who realized she'd gone way too far. "James, no," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Please, don't do this. It was a mistake. I was just angry." "You weren't angry, Alea," I said, my voice cold and hard. "You were entitled. You thought you could cheat on me, and I would just take it. You thought you could destroy my property, and there would be no consequences. You were wrong." The police car pulled up to the curb. 2 officers got out, their expressions grim as they took in the scene. The shattered car, the bat on the lawn, the 2 women standing on my porch. Alea started to beg. Real, desperate, ugly begging. "Please, baby, tell them it was a misunderstanding. Tell them we were just fighting. I'll pay for the damages, I swear. I'll do anything." She was crying now, reaching for my arm. I just stepped back. The officer, a tall, no-nonsense woman, looked at me. "Sir, is this the woman who damaged your vehicle?" "Yes, ma'am," I said, "and I have the entire incident on video from the moment she arrived to the moment she threw the bat down." I pointed to the phone on my windowsill. That was it. The fight went out of Alea completely. The officer cuffed her, reading her the rights as Alea sobbed uncontrollably. The way she begged as the cops took her away was a sound I'll never forget. She begged them. She begged me. She even begged Rosa, who was already trying to distance herself from the situation, telling the other officer she had nothing to do with it. As they put her in the back of the squad car, she looked at me one last time, her face a mess with tears. "You did this to me," she mouthed through the window. I just shook my head. "No, you did this to you." After the police left with Alea in the back of their car and a case number in my hand, the silence was intense. I sent the video file of her rampage to the lead officer's email address right then and there. Then I went back inside and finally checked my phone. It had blown up. Her mother Martha had sent me a dozen texts. The first few were confused, then angry, then horrified after she'd clearly spoken to Alea. "You had no right to bring us into this. This is a private matter." I just replied with a screenshot of the police report number. That stopped her texts cold. Her father, Theophilus, had left a single voicemail. It was a strange mix of anger at me and deep, weary disappointment in his daughter. He sounded like a man whose perfect world had just been shattered. He ended it by saying, "You and Alea are done, and as of today, so are she and I." He had cut her off. The bank of Dad was officially closed. I spent the rest of the day dealing with the fallout. I called my insurance company and started the claim on my car. I called a locksmith and had every lock on the house changed. Then I started packing her things. I used her own expensive designer luggage, the stuff she was so proud of. I packed every last dress, every shoe, every bottle of perfume. The next few days were a blur of legal and personal cleanup. Alea was released on bail, paid by a reluctant Rosa. The first thing she did was start a smear campaign. Suddenly, our mutual friends were getting a completely different story. In her version, I was the abusive, controlling monster. The photo I sent her parents was photoshopped. I had driven her to a mental breakdown, and the car incident was a desperate cry for help that I had cruelly exploited. It might have worked if I hadn't been prepared. I didn't argue, I didn't engage. I just sent a single, simple message to our group chat. It was the video. The clear, undeniable video of her in a full-blown rage, methodically destroying my car while Rosa cheered her on. I didn't add a single word of commentary. The video spoke for itself. The social fallout was immediate and brutal. Friends who had been sending me concerned texts were suddenly sending me apologies. Rosa became a social pariah overnight, the friend who filmed an assault instead of stopping it. The other guy, the one from the bar, had apparently ghosted Aaliyah the second he heard about the drama. He wanted nothing to do with her brand of crazy. A week later, I got a call from a lawyer. He represented Aaliyah. He informed me that she would be coming to retrieve her belongings and that they would be filing a suit for emotional distress and for her equity in the house. I just laughed. "Your client is not on the deed, the mortgage, or any utility bill for this property," I told him. "She has no equity. She was a guest. As for emotional distress, I have a video of her committing a felony on my property. My lawyer will be in touch with a countersuit for the damages, the insurance deductible, and the diminished value of my classic car. Is there anything else?" He was silent for a moment. "My client will be there on Saturday at noon to retrieve her things," he said, his tone much less confident. "Fine," I said. "She can have a police escort. She is not to set foot on my property without one." That Saturday was the last time I saw her in person. She showed up with 2 police officers and her mother. She wouldn't look at me. Her mother tried to start in on me, telling me I was heartless, but one of the officers politely told her to be quiet. I had all of Aaliyah's luggage piled in the garage. They loaded it into her mother's car in a tense, miserable silence. As they were about to leave, Aaliyah finally looked at me. There were no tears, no anger, just a hollow, empty look. The legal battle was short and one-sided. Faced with the video evidence, she had no choice but to plead guilty to felony vandalism. She got 2 years of probation, a hefty fine, mandatory anger management classes, and a court order to pay full restitution for the damages to my car, which came to just over $17,000. Her lawsuit against me was dropped so fast it was comical. The last I heard, she's living back with her parents. Her father is making her work a retail job to pay me back every single cent. She lost her high-powered job, her friends, her reputation, and her freedom, all because she couldn't stand the thought of her perfect image being shattered. She chose to grab a bat instead of just acting like an adult about it. I got my car fixed. It looks as good as new, but every time I get behind the wheel, I think about that night. I don't feel anger anymore. I just feel a quiet sense of peace. I saw the real her, and I acted. I poured myself a whiskey and enjoyed the silence in my own home. It was finally over.